She was just another police officer walking down the street, unaware that danger was creeping right behind her. The city lights flickered, but no one else noticed the shadow closing in, no one, except a homeless man people ignored every single day. He had nothing, no home, no money, no family, but that night, he carried something more powerful than all of it: courage, sharp eyes, and the will to act when everyone else stayed blind. And what he did next didn't just save her life, it shocked the entire city. The night was cold, the kind of cold that slipped through clothes and clung to the skin. The streets were nearly empty, only the distant rumble of cars and the flickering glow of streetlights gave life to the silence. On the corner of the block sat a homeless man. His name was Daniel. His blanket was nothing more than a shredded piece of fabric. His stomach ached from hunger, yet his eyes were sharper than most. He had lived on these streets long enough to notice details that others missed. As Daniel shifted against the wall, trying to keep warm, his gaze caught something unusual. Just a few feet away, a female police officer had stepped out of her patrol car. She looked tired, as though the weight of the day had drained her, unaware that someone was watching her every move. From the shadows, a tall dark figure trailed behind, his steps careful, his presence hidden from everyone but Daniel. At first, Daniel thought it was just another passerby, but then he saw it. The man's hand slipped inside his jacket and pulled out something that glistened faintly under the streetlight, a knife. Daniel froze, his heart pounded so hard it echoed in his ears. He wanted to scream, to warn her, to shout for help, but he stopped himself. He knew the man might strike faster if he made a sound. Instead, he whispered to himself, "Don't talk, just watch." His body trembled, but his mind sharpened. In that moment, he realized the officer's life depended not on what he said, but on what he did. Next, and for the first time in years, Daniel knew he couldn't remain invisible any longer. The homeless man's name was Daniel, and for as long as he could remember, he had been invisible to the world. Every day people walked past him without so much as a glance. They hurried to their offices, their homes, their warm meals, while he sat in the same cold corner, wrapped in scraps of cloth. To them, he was just another face of poverty, a shadow in the background of the busy city. But tonight, Daniel felt something different. Tonight, he was the only one who could see what others could not. His eyes followed the figure moving silently through the dim streetlights. The man's steps were deliberate, too focused to be casual. Daniel squinted and then saw it. The stranger slipped his hand beneath his jacket and revealed a sharp glint of metal, a knife. The light bounced off the blade for only a second, but that second was enough to chill Daniel's blood. His fists clenched tightly, his breath grew heavy. He wanted to stand and shout, to warn the officer who walked unknowingly ahead. But the thought froze him. He had been ignored his whole life. Who would believe a homeless man's cry in the middle of the night? Would they think he was drunk, crazy, or just trying to cause trouble? Fear battled against courage inside him. His body trembled violently, not just from the cold but from the weight of the decision pressing on him. If he acted too soon, the attacker might strike. If he acted too late, the officer's life could be over in seconds. So Daniel forced himself to stay quiet, waiting, watching, his mind racing. Tonight, for the first time in years, the invisible man had to become a silent guardian. The female officer walked steadily toward the alley near the station, unaware that danger crept closer with every step. Her boots clicked softly against the pavement, her hand resting casually near her belt, but her guard was down. She had no idea that in the shadows, a man with a knife was moving in fast, ready to strike. Daniel's heart thudded against his chest. He knew he had only seconds to act. His eyes darted around in panic until they landed on an old rusty can lying in the trash beside him. Without thinking, he grabbed it with his trembling hands. For a moment, doubt filled his mind. What if this didn't work? What if it only made things worse? But then he tightened his grip and hurled the can with all his strength. The clanging sound of metal smashing against the pavement echoed sharply through the night. The female officer instantly spun around, her instincts kicking in, her eyes narrowed, searching for the source of the noise. And that tiny second of alertness became the difference between life and death. Just as she turned, the attacker lunged forward with the knife raised high, but in the corner of her eye, she caught something unexpected, the attacker's reflection glinting off the polished surface of her patrol car. Her training took over in a flash. She drew her weapon and shouted with authority, "Freeze!" The man froze mid-lunge, shock spreading across his face. He hadn't expected her to react so quickly. His grip on the knife loosened, and with trembling hands he dropped it to the ground. Within moments, backup officers who had been nearby rushed in, tackling the suspect before he could run. Daniel exhaled heavily from his corner, relief washing over him. His small act of courage had just saved a life. The officer's breathing was heavy as the attacker was dragged away in handcuffs. Her eyes scanned the street, confusion flickering across her face. Someone had thrown that can, someone had alerted her without saying a single word. Slowly, she turned her head and spotted him, Daniel, sitting against the cold brick wall, his blanket wrapped around him, his hands trembling from both fear and the biting night air. She stepped closer, her boots crunching against the gravel, and finally stood over him. "Was that you?" she asked softly, half in disbelief. Daniel didn't lift his eyes right away, his lips quivered before he gave a small nod. In a voice so low it almost faded into the night, he whispered, "Don't talk, just watch." The officer tilted her head, confused by his words. Why would he say that? But before she could ask more, one of the other policemen shouted, "Ma'am, you need to see this." They had opened the attacker's backpack. Inside were folded papers, photographs, and scribbled notes. The officer's eyes widened as she saw her own face staring back at her from one of the photos. The notes revealed detailed surveillance, her daily routes, even the time she usually parked her patrol car. This wasn't a random attack. This man had been following her, studying her, waiting for the right moment to strike. A chill ran down her spine as she realized how close she had been to losing her life. Her gaze returned to Daniel. This man, whom everyone ignored, the man people stepped over on the streets, had been the one to see the danger no one else noticed. In his silence, in his watchfulness, he had become her savior. Daniel had saved her life without speaking more than a single sentence. By the next morning, Daniel's name was on every screen and in every newspaper. Headlines blazed across the city, "Homeless man saves police officer from deadly attack." Reporters crowded the police station, eager to know more about the mysterious man who had lived in silence yet changed the course of one night. For years, Daniel had been ignored, stepped over, and treated as though he didn't exist. But for the first time, the world saw him, not as a burden, not as a beggar, but as a hero. The female officer, who now owed her life to him, refused to let Daniel fade back into the shadows. She spoke firmly at the press conference. "This man saved my life when no one else even noticed the danger. Sometimes, the people we ignore are the ones who see the most." Her words struck deeply, reminding everyone of the countless people society walks past every day without a second thought. As cameras flashed, Daniel stood quietly at the back of the room, nervous and overwhelmed. His clothes were still old and worn, his hands still rough from nights on the street, but his eyes held something new, hope. The officer made sure he was given shelter, warm meals, and most importantly, a chance to start again. Local organizations stepped in, offering him counseling, work opportunities, and support. For the first time in years, he didn't have to worry about where he would sleep or how he would survive the night. When a reporter asked Daniel how it felt to be called a hero, he didn't give a long speech. Instead, he smiled faintly, the kind of smile that hadn't graced his face in years, and said, "I just watched, that's all." His humility left the crowd silent, proving that true heroism doesn't always come with loud declarations. Sometimes it's found in quiet actions, in courage that no one expects. From that day forward, Daniel's story became a reminder to the city, and to the world, that heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they wear rags, carry scars, and fight battles no one sees. Yet when the moment comes, their courage can save lives and inspire millions. This story proves that real heroes can be found in the most unexpected places. If it touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more inspiring stories.